Our story off during the 1 month time span where Naruto would be training under Jiraiya, and instead of teaching things like the summoning jutsu and more control on the Kyuubi, he would take him to Mount Myoboku, like where he went as a kid to train. Jiraiya sees a little bit of himself in Naruto, so he just says why not and takes him to see Fukasaku and Shima. When Jiraiya introduces Naruto to them, they would greet him with open arms, and Naruto says how he hopes to learn powerful jutsu so he can prove Neji and the others wrong and remain at the top. Naruto wants to get rid of Neji, Gaara, and Sasuke, the three main enemies at least, because he wants to prove to everyone that he is not just some ninja who's going to slack, and he's going to become the Hokage someday, so he needs to show off. This would then lead into them deciding to prep Naruto to learn Sage Mode and make sure he doesn't turn himself into a frog. I'll say by like the 3-week mark, Naruto finally unlocks perfect Sage Mode, and for the other 9 days, he and Jiraiya come up with the Shadow Clone idea, which allows Naruto to go into Sage Mode for 20 minutes max. He can use Sage Mode normally for 5 minutes, and he has 3 backup clones, allowing Naruto to go on for 15 minutes when taking into account all 3 clones, because remember, in this timeline, Naruto and Jiraiya come up with that little Shadow Clone idea. This then leads into Naruto arriving at the Chunin exams arena by himself in a puff of smoke, similar to how he arrived against Pain, but, without all the summonings and stuff like that. And this would then lead into Neji versus Naruto, which goes down way differently than in canon. Naruto would request from Neji to go all out from the start, which Neji wouldn't mind, and he would immediately activate his Byakugan and charge in at Naruto when the match begins. He would blitz towards Naruto's way, but as Neji is going in for a palm strike, Naruto would activate Sage Mode in time and give out his own attack. Naruto would use Frog Kata to punch Neji, and the punch would extend to actually hit Neji without Naruto even needing to come into contact with him, which is useful because again, the Hyuga style is pretty deadly, and he would do massive amounts of damage to Neji. Honestly, Neji's really lucky that Naruto was holding back some power in his punch, so he didn't completely almost kill Neji. Honestly, he could have, because Naruto definitely had the power, but that's not his intention. He just wants to win and not really kill, but just prove Neji wrong. And this would then lead into Neji trying to come into contact with Naruto once again, but, he didn't learn the first time. And he would try and go in for a 64 palm attack, which Naruto would dodge every single palm strike pretty easily. Naruto already sees the attack coming before it's even displayed out thanks to his Sage Mode, and this then leads into Naruto jumping into the air, summoning 2 Shadow Clones that close down and jump on Neji and restrain him. And he essentially does a mini version of the Uzumaki Barrage, but instead it's enhanced with Sage Mode, and the real Naruto would come on down and dropkick Neji upside the head, which KOs him and allows Naruto to win the match. Like in canon, Sasuke would still proceed on, facing off against Gaara, and eventually, when the Feather Genjutsu is casted, Naruto would eventually be woken up, and he would then use Sage Mode to try and track down Sasuke, but he gets intercepted by Kankuro. Here, Naruto would just simply beam towards Kankuro and headbutt him, which instantly knocks him out thanks to the power increase that Naruto obtains with Sage Mode, and Naruto would then keep on rushing out, and he would eventually make it to Gaara and Sasuke. Naruto being far stronger would wail on Gaara and prevent Shukaku from even appearing out, and since Naruto overpowered him before he could get the chance, here Sasuke wouldn't just collapse due to exhaustion and the curse mark, since the curse mark wouldn't break out since Naruto would arrive right before Sasuke cast the Chidori. Here, I can definitely see Sasuke's Road to Darkness being made earlier, considering that he's seen this Naruto outright perform better feats than him, which gets him upset because Naruto with Sage Mode is just leagues above Sasuke. Here, he thinks that if he can't surpass Naruto, how will he ever manage to defeat Itachi, and that's what's going through his mind. Now, Hiruzen would still die, and we would need a new Hokage, which leads into Naruto and Jiraiya heading off to go search for Tsunade. Now, Naruto would go on to learn Rasengan, which could be easier with Sage Mode, but I don't know fully if it should or shouldn't, so we'll just say that his Rasengan is still incomplete, but maybe a little less incomplete. I don't think just because he learned Sage Mode, he would learn the Rasengan way faster, since the Rasengan is a whole learning process in itself, and so Naruto's Rasengan is still incomplete, and Naruto would be going out to go and search for Tsunade, which still leads into him training in the hotel, while Jiraiya would just be out doing his research, and Naruto would be getting impatient, and so he would use Sage Mode to try and look for Jiraiya, but he would come across 2 unusual people arriving at his door. He sees them without even looking straight at them thanks to, Sage Mode, and this would lead into Naruto not opening the door because he does see Itachi Sharingan with his Sage Mode. Not to mention, he does see Kisame, who has a large sword on his back, so he is a little intimidated, and this would then lead into Naruto summoning 2 Shadow Clones and one of them opening the door while the real Naruto and a clone sneak out the window. One clone would be trying his best to talk to Itachi and Kisame and stall, while Naruto and the other shadow clone would try their best to actually direct an attack from above. This would then lead into Itachi and Kisame trying to get Naruto away and actually taking him in, and Naruto would refuse at first and say that these two are going to go down, which confuses the two of them because what is Naruto going to do? And to their surprise, two Narutos then come crashing down from the rooftop and crashing onto Itachi and Kisame, and they both do some pretty decent damage considering the fact that he has Sage Mode active, but these two are able to recover just fine. Kisame then prepares to chop Naruto's legs off, but in the nick of time, Sasuke then arrives and uses a Chidori, which allows Itachi to just easily react to him and slam him against the wall, and this would then lead into Naruto trying to save Sasuke by evading Kisame. Naruto with Sage Mode, his reaction speed is massively buffed, and so I'm going to say here that Kisame tries to swing at Naruto when he says that he's going to save Sasuke, and in the nick of time, Naruto barely dodges. At that point, Naruto would then kick Itachi away, which then leads into Itachi getting ready to attack Naruto, but in the nick of time as well, Jiraiya arrives like in canon, and Sasuke is taken back to the hospital by Might Guy. And also thanks to Naruto just coming in and having to defend Sasuke and kicking Itachi away and saving Sasuke, actually, Sasuke's rage would just be boosted up exponentially here thanks to that. I would even go as far as to say that Sasuke would be conscious here because he wouldn't be nearly as damaged as his canon self, so he would be conscious when guys taking him away, and he would tell Naruto to meet him at the hospital once things settle, because he wants to talk to him. This is a nice little foreshadow to Naruto and Sasuke's hospital fight, but we'll get into that later. Now I'm going to be passing the mic to Aventi.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Aventi, and as you can see, I am on this collab, and I'm just going to keep this intro brief, so let's just quickly get into the story. Now, after this, the Tsunade arc would enroll similar to in canon, but with Naruto showing off his Sage Mode, and I think here Tsunade would be impressed, since I believe she would be aware of Sage Mode thanks to Jiraiya. And if not, Jiraiya could just explain to her the jutsu he used and how he mastered it before even Jiraiya did, which impresses Tsunade. I think here she would decide to tag along with the leaf earlier, but if that doesn't happen, then things would happen the same, with Naruto probably using a Sage Rasengan to slam Kabuto. Regardless, the arc doesn't change too much, and the best scenario to come out of this is Tsunade comes with Jiraiya and Naruto earlier. But while returning back, Naruto would have discovered how to use the Rasengan in his own way. Now, when Naruto returns, he and Sasuke would fight, and Sasuke would want Naruto to use his Sage Mode, but Naruto refuses since he thinks he doesn't need it, but this still leads into the whole hospital fight, along with the Sasuke retrieval arc. Now, here I think Naruto could use Sage Mode to track down the Sound 4 and release the boys from Jirobo's dome, and things are the same except for the Kimimaro fight, which Naruto would be shown to have a major advantage in. I think here Naruto could defeat Kimimaro before he could get his curse mark off, considering how enraged and determined he was over bringing Sasuke back. Here, I could see Naruto defeating him before Sasuke even gets out with his Heaven Seal curse mark, which I'll say happens. When Sasuke is released, he would rush on out with Naruto, falling behind with a new shinobi who came to assist Naruto, Rock Lee. Lee would decide to stay back since this is Naruto's fight, but promises to Naruto that he will step in if necessary. Naruto would face Sasuke, but here, with Naruto having Kurama's influence with Sage Mode, here Naruto would absolutely destroy Sasuke in every way, shape or form. And this leads into Sasuke missing his Chidori and Naruto using a normal punch, which knocks him out cold. Sasuke is brought back to the leaf, and he is being supervised by the likes of Kakashi and most likely multiple Jonin. Here I can see Sasuke being talked to by Kakashi and how revenge always is going to be on his mind, but maybe he could help Sasuke down a better path. And so Sasuke and Kakashi would then train with each other for 2.5 years, while Naruto and Jiraiya go out to train, and Sakura I think would still train with Tsunade since she wants to prove to herself. Naruto would learn summoning and variations of the Rasengan, and I think here maybe Jiraiya would go to Miyaboku and fully perfect Sage Mode, since he can't always just have his student one-upping him, and Naruto perfecting Sage Mode I say could motivate Jiraiya to perfect it, and I think during this time, you could have Naruto training with Fukasaku, who would teach Naruto about his natural infinity, and Naruto during the 2.5 year time gap would make up a wind-style Rasengan. a one-day attempt to take it a step further, he summons 3 clones while in Sage Mode, and by combining Wind Chakra and the Rasengan, he creates the Rasen Shuriken accidentally, and even discovers the ability to throw it, since in Sage Mode he can do that. Speaking of Sage Mode, Naruto would be able to increase his time of the usage of Sage Mode up to 15 minutes. Naruto is literally the beast in comparison to his canon self, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see what Naruto is going to be doing in Shippuden, which we will cover in part 2.
Where we last left off, which was with Team 7 training for about 2.5 years, though it was separately with Sasuke and Kakashi training, while Naruto and Sakura would train with the other 2 Sannin, that being Jiraiya and Tsunade. We covered what happened with Naruto, but not really with the other Team 7 members, so let's go on ahead and see what they are up to. Sakura would be training with Tsunade and obtaining insane strength, while Sasuke and Kakashi train together, and both of them would buff their Sharingan exponentially, with both of them able to use it for hours and both of them having the 3 Tomo. Now, with that being said, Kakashi would be the only one out of the 2 Sharingan users to obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan and discover Kamui through training. And Sasuke won't be getting it here because Sasuke is an Uchiha, and in order to get the Mangekyo Sharingan, you have to like kill your best friend or just something that's very traumatic. And Sasuke during the 2.5 year gap would not be feeling any of that at all. If anything, he would be feeling character development for the better because Kakashi's been helping him out psychologically, so Sasuke isn't really so much of a bad guy anymore and doesn't want to train with Orochimaru anymore. He would have mastered his lightning chakra nature along with some of the fire. And he would also have dog summonings because, you know, training with Kakashi has dog summonings. I just feel like it kind of fits really well with the character. And with that being said, Sasuke would also have mastered his Kenjutsu and even been able to ignite the Chidori chakra into his blade. Sasuke is still very passionate for killing Itachi, but he's not going to resort to extreme precautions to actually achieve that goal. And so he's just going to be training with Kakashi, and he hopes for the best. Maybe when he encounters Itachi, he'll be ready this time. Naruto still returns to the Leaf, and we get the whole belt test going down, which Team 7 easily takes the belts in this timeline, and the Kazekage rescue mission would still unfold, with Sasuke taking the main lead against the Itachi clone, and everything setting up before that takes place as per normal. Sasuke doesn't necessarily change too much here. Now, when they encountered Deidara would try and go after Sasuke, but since he's carrying Gaara, Naruto and Kakashi would go after him, and so it would be kind of a chase sequence with Sasuke in the front and Deidara in the middle, and Kakashi and Naruto in the back, while Sakura and Chiyo would take down Sasori. Sakura and Chiyo still take down Sasori here, and because there's no Sasuke being influenced by Orochimaru, I don't think they're really as motivated to go and track down Orochimaru because he's not causing too much personal harm. And so with this, they still find Orochimaru to be an enemy, but this wouldn't be their main priority, so Sasori would never basically tell them about where he is. With this, we still get Kakashi saving everyone from Deidara's explosion with Kamui, and the arc would still conclude with Chiyo sacrificing her life to save Gaara's, and Gaara would say thank you to Team 7. Along with Team Guy, because, you know, they're still kind of there. Now, with this, the Orochimaru arc never happens, which means Yamato would never be introduced along with Sai, and Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto would just kind of be in the Leaf training with each other. We still get the news of Asuma dying because the first half of the Kakuzu arc would still take place the same because Team 7 never really changes that first half anyway. So we still get Team 10 trying to go out for revenge, but this time Sasuke and Kakashi accompany them and decide to go and take on the 2 Akatsuki members with Team 10 following behind them. I think here we could actually get a pretty cool interaction with Sasuke and Shikamaru that allows Shikamaru to kind of like Sasuke, because we know in the original, in the Sasuke retrieval arc, Shikamaru did say how he didn't really like Sasuke all that much, but you know, he's still going to suck it up into the mission. I think here Shikamaru would actually find Sasuke likable, because Sasuke relates to his feeling of revenge. We could also maybe have Kakashi relating to them because, you know, Kakashi and Asuma were pretty good friends, and Asuma just died like that, so Kakashi wants to get revenge and make sure his death isn't in vain. And so with this, we get Sasuke and Kakashi ambushing Kakuzu and Hidan along with Team 10, and Kakashi and Sasuke would work together against Kakuzu while Team 10 would try and handle against Hidan. Now here, I would believe that Sasuke and Kakashi perform much better against Kakuzu, since I feel like Sasuke would at least be on Kakashi's playing field, and Kakashi was able to scrap with Kakuzu. Not to mention Sasuke has probably much more powerful lightning, and in terms of base Sharingan, he's probably slightly ahead of Kakashi, so he would have better reaction speed. Not to mention his overall arsenal is just something that Kakuzu is going to struggle against, and not to mention Sasuke has Kakashi backing him up. And Kakashi won't be using the MS just yet, and the base Sharingan is more than enough to actually contend with Kakuzu, thanks to Sasuke's assistance. So here I could see Kakuzu losing another heart in the battle, but he would eventually go into that weird transform state and try and shoot a fire wind blast that would nearly kill everyone, or so seemingly, but that is until Naruto arrives onto the scene. Naruto would already have Sage Mode out as well, and he would use his Furakata to extend his punch to Kakuzu's blast to essentially block it out of his friend's way, and saving them with his raw power. With this happening, Shikamaru would already get his Shadow Paralysis off on Hidan, and he would then run away from the battle and would say that he wants to take on Hidan. And so he and Hidan have their little fight, and Shikamaru still beats him like in canon with Asuma behind his back. And as for the team that's facing Kakuzu, Naruto would easily bully Kakuzu in his Sage Mode, not even needing a Rasen Shuriken to simply just one-shot him, but with his raw power, he would just easily take him out. And Kakuzu eventually falls, with Kakashi saying to Naruto that he is someone that can definitely surpass the 4th Hokage. Now, after this, in the canon storyline, we would get the whole Sasuke versus Itachi storyline, with Sasuke chasing down Itachi and fighting Deidara, yada yada yada. That doesn't happen here because Sasuke was never with Orochimaru, so Team Heavy's never formed, Sasuke never goes out to fight Deidara. Yeah, things just happen rather differently, and I'm going to say here that Itachi definitely feels his life slowly fading away due to his illness, and so he needs to act quickly. So he would send out a crow to invade the leaf, and he would come into eye contact with Sasuke. At this point, Sasuke would then be lured out the Leaf Village by Itachi, because Sasuke knows that this is Itachi, and when Sasuke is leaving the Leaf Village, he's a lot more careful this time, but Kakashi is actually following right behind him. He's not going to have a round 2 of what had happened 2.5 years ago, so Kakashi's just going to follow in hot pursuit, and eventually this would lead into Sasuke arriving at the Uchiha hideout, and he and Itachi having their battle. Kakashi would be watching in the far distance, and when Sasuke beats Itachi, we would get Kakashi swooping in and saving Sasuke just in the nick of time, so Obito never reveals the truth to Sasuke, and Sasuke never becomes a criminal, or essentially Sasuke never becomes a bad character. While that arc was going on, we still have Jiraiya invading the Rain Village to get some information on the Akatsuki, and this leads into his encounter with Pain, and due to Jiraiya having perfect Sage Mode, and having Sage Mode on a lot longer, he would figure out who Pain is and foresee the Asura Path's attacks. We still get Jiraiya getting the information on Pain, but because he has Sage Mode on a lot longer, he's fighting the Paths of Pain, and he barely manages to escape. Fukasaku and Shima, by the way, would still be on Jiraiya's shoulders accompanying him on this mission because Jiraiya would want the full power of Sage Mode, and they have Genjutsu that could prove to be pretty useful, which, as we all know in the Pain fight, does come in handy a little bit. But anyways, Jiraiya arrives back into the Leaf Village, and he would give the information out on Pain, and eventually the Pain invasion arc would then start up, with the 6 Paths of Pains invading the Leaf Village, and around this time I think Kakashi and Sasuke would just make it back to the Leaf Village. Regardless, we still get Kakashi saving Iruka, but Sasuke would be on his side, and Kakashi and Sasuke would try their best to fight the Diva Path, which just wouldn't work, and this would then lead into Naruto and Jiraiya deciding to step out the box and using Sage Mode in unison and deciding to fight Pain together. Kakashi and Sasuke would have their little scrap moments, but eventually they would then be saved by Naruto and Jiraiya, and these two together would be able to take on the 6 Paths of Pains pretty easily. And Naruto would have a better version of Sage Mode here because, he's been training for 2.5 years with it, and Jiraiya would also have a better version of Sage Mode than his canon self. So here, both Sage Mode users are just gonna slap Pain. Pain still gives out his Cycle of Hatred speech, and Naruto and Jiraiya are just not buying it, and they say that there can be peace to the shinobi world, and both of them will bring it, right here and now, starting with Pain. and at that point, Pain would then be defeated. We still get the chakra rod stuff and Naruto detecting where Nagato is. A double Takano Jutsu would happen here with Jiraiya and Naruto, and Nagato would revive everyone that's been killed. Here I could see Kakashi and Sasuke having a little bit of a pep talk after the Pain Assault, and Kakashi would forgive Sasuke for leaving the Leaf Village because he understands the revenge is all in his mind, but he can't let that get to him. But it doesn't matter anymore because he killed Itachi, and that revenge blood is now suppressed and over with. Tsunade would live on in this timeline due to her never having to go as far as to literally heal everyone in the Leaf Village and waste their chakra, because Jiraiya and Naruto prevent any of that from happening due to them fighting Pain earlier, so Tsunade is never in a coma. With Tsunade never in a coma, she would attend to the Kage Summit, but would have nothing to do with the Leaf Village. It would actually have something to do with the Cloud and Mist Village, because Obito would send out Kisame to go and take out Killer Bee, which I think here, Kisame would definitely kill Killer Bee here. All Kisame really needs to do is just use Samehada in that tailless Jinchuriki form, and it's just about GG for our 8-tailed Jinchuriki friend. So his tailed beast would be extracted, and the Kage Summit would be called in, which Obito would still intervene and invade and declare the 4th Great Ninja War, with no real fight happening because, again, Sasuke is not in the dark side. And as we all know, with no Killer Bee, this means no way for Naruto to get KCM, and no Kisame versus Guy fight, so Kisame still lives on. Now with all that being said, let's get fully into the 4th Great Ninja War, and my buddy Aventi will now be taking over the mic.
Yo, what's up? I'm Aventi, and I'm just going to keep this intro brief like as always. And let's just get into the what if. So the 4th Great Ninja War is going to carry on with Orochimaru and Kabuto in the shadows, trying to find a good body for the Sannin to host. Now, because there's no Kabuto absorbed Orochimaru, or Yamato being even in the same place as his canon self, since he's never been introduced here, there would be no reanimated army, and only white setsus. When the war begins, Naruto would be kept behind the scenes, and Jiraiya specifically would be watching him. Naruto wants to fight, but Jiraiya won't let him, and this leads into Jiraiya and Naruto fighting, so Naruto can go ahead and join the war. Naruto here would win the fight, and show to Jiraiya that he has what it takes. He would go on and join the war without the Raikage stopping him, since he's currently out bloodlusted fighting every enemy he sees until he counters Kisame. Here he shows no mercy, and brutally murders the Mist Swordsman and avenges his brother. Naruto would go out and face off against Obito with Kakashi and Guy, backing him up, and I think here Naruto could die due to simply not having KCM 1 or 2 at his disposal. And if he does die, that's fine, since he can just get revived by Hagoromo and utilize 6-part Sage Mode to win the war, which I would prefer to happen than just Obito winning, since it kinda goes with the theme of the series. Cause you know, Sage Mode. But yeah, anyways, with this happening, the war is won by Naruto's help, and peace would be established, and Sasuke would be a lot weaker, but less evil. And Naruto would eventually go on to become the 7th Hokage. Sasuke wouldn't get the Rinnegan, and really the story is just more in Naruto's favor. And this concludes our What If. Thank you for joining us in today's What If. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I know it was a pretty short ending, but in my opinion, I actually enjoyed this. So now I'll just pass the mic to Tylearn.
Now, I did say before that I might not really get into Boruto and this might be the end, but honestly, what do you guys want? Do you guys want part 3, which would cover the Boruto movie and that would most likely be the finale, or would you guys want the series to be left off at Shippuden? With that being said, thanks for watching once again, and be sure to go subscribe to Aventi's channel down below in the description because, you know, he's been helping out recording his lines and whatnot, you know, saving me some time, so I appreciate that. And with that being said, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're new, like the video, and if you guys do want Boruto very, desperately, just smash that like button. You know, as cringy as that sounds, but yeah, just give me some likes, and, maybe you'll get part 3. Most likely you will. Yo, I'm gonna keep that in the video. That sounded mad greedy. Give me some likes. But yeah, with that being said, guys, hit that like button if you guys want part 3. My name is Tylearn. Peace out, guys.